Well, good morning. This is Dean Tenney. I'm coming to you from my fabulous studio, or my studio here in fabulous Las Vegas, is how I usually open these things up. Um, we have been adding to the Series 24 playlist at the YouTube channel. We try and put every playlist, put a couple things in there, put some narrative lectures. We have two thus far in the 24 playlist lecture playlist. We have a fiscal fiscal responsibility lecture. We have a market making and trading lecture. Soon we'll have an investment banking and research lecture. The other thing we like to do is explicate the content outline that FINRA provides for each of the outlines or each of the series. And we started each of those by just going over what the test's about, and then we explicate that, and then we like to have a practice final. It'll be quite a while before we get a Series 24 practice final in the playlist. But I thought I'd start with a function one explication of the 24 content outline, and then we'll have a little bit of narrative stuff for you there, as well as the first installment on the explication of the content outline. Function one is only 9 questions. So there's only 9 questions in function one. So, pay attention to that in your study effort. Function two is 35 questions. So obviously function two is more important than function one. I'll leave it to you to watch the initial introduction of the Series 24 content outline. So function one, supervision of registration of broker-dealer and personnel management activities. And what I do is I go through these content outlines and put my comments, not all the time, but I try to in different colors. So you can kind of tell what is the content being provided by the FINRA versus what is Dean's commentary on that. So in 1.1, we'll do 1.1 today and 1.2 today, 9 questions. In 1.1, the critical function here is how do we initiate membership into FINRA? How do we terminate registration of the broker-dealer? And talk about physical office locations in the CRD system. How do we, tell FINRA who our branches are and what they're up to? Okay, so knowledge, what you're required to know in this 1.1 is the difference between the different regulators. So the SEC, now they don't like on the test to continually say FINRA and the SEC. So sometimes what they'll say instead is your DEA, your designating examining authorities. And for broker dealers, there's 2. And the more serious one is the SEC. If they say Dean, the SEC is on the line, that's certainly more important than, don't tell FINRA I said this, than FINRA being on the line. So who is the SEC? The SEC, as you can see my comment here, has primary jurisdiction, interpretation, and enforcement of the domestic securities laws of the United States of America. Looks like I missed the securities laws. There we go. That's a little better. Of the United States of America. Self-regulatory organization is a FINRA. And so there's no such thing as a broker-dealer that's not going to be registered with both the SEC and FINRA. And we might have to register with the state. We're certainly going to have to register the broker-dealer in at least one state because we're going to have a home office. Any state in which the broker-dealer has either an office or a retail customer, the broker-dealer needs to be registered with the state, and the state administrator is the one in charge of that. I kind of think of the SEC is God and state administrators think they are. So there's these 50 demigods running around. Now, when you want to start your own broker-dealer, you're going to fill out Form BD. They're going to ask you what kind of broker-dealer do you want to be. Now, it's bad form to say, well, gee, how many different types of broker-dealers are there? And so, every type of broker-dealer that you're going to, every type of broker has its own net capital standard. But, the basic breakdown is going to be there are clearing broker dealers and non-clearing. And, that's going to be much different than, different net capital standards on those. Now, when you fill out Form BD, you're going to have after that what's called a new membership interview. And when you come to the interview, this is the kind of questions they're going to be asking you. Now, if you want to start your own broker dealer, you're going to need at least 2 principals. So you're going to need a Series 24 And you're going to need a somebody to be in charge of fiscal responsibility. So that means you're going to need a Series 24 and a Series 27, 28. Don't get hung up on the numerical requirements for different things. I'm just telling you that's going to be the person who's going to be in charge of net capital, fiscal responsibility, that kind of thing. To withdraw the registration of the broker dealer, you're going to fill out Form BD. You just can't leave. So you're going to withdraw the registration. You're going to have a Form BR to tell FINRA where your branches are. And you're basically going to have two types of branches. Let me go a different color. You're going to have what are called offices of supervisory jurisdictions. You know, that's kind of like more than a branch. As we're doing market making, we're doing corporate finance, and that's going to require a Series 24. And then we're going to have, various branches as well. There's regular retail branches, and those can be done by an experienced, supervised by an experienced registered rep, but more likely a Series 910 for retail sales activities. At least once a year, the home office is going to have to check on the OSJ. If it's a branch that's supervising branches, other branches, or an OSJ, that's going to require the home office to do an inspection. Let's put that inspection by home office at least once a year. And if it's just a plain old retail branch, that's going to be at least every 3 years, somebody needs to supervise that. And that can be the OSJ that does that, doesn't have to be the home office. Let's see. So we got our Form BD, we got our two principals. We're going to need to appoint a couple more officers here. So we're also going to have to appoint or tell FINRA who is our CCO or Chief Compliance Officer. And at least every 12 months, the Chief Compliance Officer has to meet with the CEO. So, the Chief Compliance Officer, those that once every 12 months are going to get speak truth to power. And that meeting has to be certified, meaning there's got to be some kind of a documentation, attestation that was actually done. Another person we're going to have to appoint, it looks like the spelling of the explications isn't all that important, but the other thing we're going to have to appoint is an AML officer and in charge of the anti-money laundering of the firm. And that AML officer will not conduct, but we're going to have an AML test done annually by an independent third party just to make sure those procedures are up to speed. They want to make sure you understand the difference between a registered investment advisor who's giving investment advice. So, a lot of us have affiliates that are registered investment advice, but they give investment advice. That's called the ABC test. And that's going to be a different registration than starting a BD. So ABC. Do you give investment advice to the firm? Do you tell people you're in the business of giving investment advice and you want compensation? If I'm just a brokerage firm, I don't make money or fees. I get paid based on transactions. So, as a broker dealer, I'm going to make money from transactions. And that's going to mean I'm going to be making my money from commissions when acting as an agent for the customer, when the firm is acting as an agent for the customer, or I'm going to make a markup or mark down when trading from inventory. I would refer you to the lecture I have up on that. That's, a big part of your exam is going to be understanding that relationship. Here we would be acting in our dealer principal capacity, kind of trading against the customer, if you will. And there's going to be a lot more supervision involved when we're acting in our dealer principal capacity than when we're acting in our agency capacity. Okay, so we're doing our 9 questions found. Again, you remember all these explications, all the content on the channel is supplemental. It's not a substitute for your paid study material. So we're just trying to give the Cliff's Notes version, kind of an intellectual inventory of things you need to kind of know about the various exams. All right, so conduct hiring and registration of associated persons and maintenance of registration. So on the U4, we're going to ask you a lot, and we're hoping that our person can answer all the questions there. No, but in terms of the background on the U4, that's where this stuff is disclosed. We're going to ask you a 10-year employment history. And very important that we have 3-year verification of that. So the most recent 3 years needs to be verified. We're also going to ask you a 5-year residency. That's found on your U4 as well. We have 3 answers on the U4 that are reasons for statutory disqualification. So, we're going to put that complaint. I think we'll put that right here. It's not a test term, but in the industry, if you can answer every question on the U4, no, that means it's a clean U4. And if you have a yes answer, that's called a dirty U4. And there are some yes answers that are dirtier than other yes answers. And these are 3 reasons for what we call statutory disqualification. Reasons for statutory disqualification. So one is, sorry, I got to get my different color here. Have you been convicted of a felony within the last 10 years? Have you conviction of a misdemeanor involving money or securities? So please note that felony is any felony. This one is a misdemeanor involving embezzlement of money or securities. And then, have you ever been denied, suspended, or revoked registration in the past? Those are yes answers. If you answer those yes, are going to be a problem. Going to be a problem, right? So other ones, some explanation. And if one of those are going to be yes, and we still were able to get you through registration, because even with the yes answer, it means they can deny you registration, they being the designated examining authorities, FINRA and the SEC, without any kind of an explanation. But, maybe you plead that they've repented and you can still get them in the business, and that means you're going to have heightened supervision on those. Heightened supervision for those with statutory disqualification. We're going to have to pay some extra money, subject ourselves to perhaps, more frequent inspections, but okay. All right, so SEC, SRO, and state requirements, including basic information on those people who are registering. We're talking about the U4, and we talked about some of the things in the U4, but very important, very high probability test issue to know that anything on a U4 or a U5 that has become a yes answer, that those amendments must be made within 30 days. So any amendment, anything that's a yes, anything that's a no that becomes a yes, those amendments are going to have to be done within 30 days. And U4 is how we associate you with the broker dealer. U5 is how we disassociate you from the broker dealer. And we have to give a copy of the U5. We want to make sure you and the rep, your firm, yourself, the rep are all in the same firm. So we're going to give a copy of that U5 to the terminated rep. It doesn't have to be, could just be moving on for better opportunities. But let's make sure everybody's on the same page. We'll do a final compliance check. And again, the U5, any amendments. So if we're doing that final exit interview and we find out something that was on the U4 has now become a yes answer, well, then we're going to, make that amendment. So there it is, the amendments, right? So, and required amendments. That's primarily a no answer that's now yes answer. I can't have people get in trouble with that. Now we have a special category here for reps who get called to military service, called to active duty. And so we have a special status for them, for associated persons called to active duty. These are reservists. Otherwise, in the Marine Corps, we didn't expect to get called to active duty unless it was serious. But, we would do 2 weeks during the summer and a weekend every month as a Marine Corps reservist. And what we're talking about here is, Dean is a senior vice president at the broker dealer, and I get called into the Marine Corps on an active basis. What happens? Well, we have a special category for inactive. So special inactive status. We're going to waive. The least we can do for you while you're out, serving the Republic is waive your CE. We can continue to pay you on commissions that you put on the books. And, when you come back, you have 90 days to tell us. Maybe you had an epiphany to tell us what you're going to do. 90 days within. Days within what deactivation. I'm trying to think of the right word for that. Maybe you had an epiphany. And, if you say, hey, Dean, I've decided I'm not coming back, well, then, we start that status. Now, continuing ed is currently something I would tell you to check because what used to happen and what's just come recently, I'm coming to you to the fourth quarter of 2021. And we're now going to have, instead of the 2-year clock, we're going to have an annual CE requirement. Instead of, the 120-day thing, you can pay $100 to even after U5 hits to stay up to 5 years in a category where you can come back without retesting. So I'll just tell you to check this. What they typically do, check with your provider. I'm not even going to go into the old one and the new one yet. But what they typically do is when something's new, they actually withdraw the questions from the Q bank and then reintroduce them as those 10 experimental questions. We're going to get 150 total of 160, 10 are experimental, and they reintroduce them later, testing them for validity. So I'll put check the internet. Who knows how long you're going to be out there, or the comment sections of the lecture, because maybe I'll put something in the description of the lecture about that. So I'll give you the old one, maybe give you the new one, tell you what to expect. Let's see. So just a couple things. Just want to check my checklist here, make sure I've got everything. I want to go back here. And make sure I put this, your fees. I just want to put here on your FINRA fees. So let's put that there. Your FINRA fees are going to be based on your annual fees to FINRA. There's a percentage of your gross, but primarily the test issue is your fees to FINRA are going to be based on the number of branches you have and the number of associated persons. Okay, let's see, what else do I got? And I just want to check my list, make sure I covered pretty much. Didn't actually go into, but every U4, let's put that there. You know, there are people who are filling out U4s and may not take a test. You're making a public contact, you're certainly going to do that, but also let's make a note here. All of those are going to be accompanied by a fingerprint card. So all U4s are accompanied by a fingerprint card. Let's see. I think that's pretty much. Oh, one more big one. I can't believe I almost forgot this one. Let's go back to our membership interview. So you're going to become a member firm. That's what you're called at FINRA, a member firm. Let's see where a good place to put this is. Let's put it here with the broker dealers here. Very important to know. In fact, that's why a lot of people set up broker dealers is you can't pay concessions, discounts, and allowances. You know, if you're going to pay somebody, you know, a concession, discount, or allowance, they have to be a member firm. Now, there's two exceptions to that. And the two exception would be a foreign firm ineligible for membership. And you know what that means? You know, if you're eligible for membership, that then we still can't give you concession, discount, and allowances. There's a lot of people come through 24 classes, you know, based on their private equity firm. They want to pay a broker dealer or be paid by a broker dealer, and therefore they set up a broker dealer to receive a concession, discount, allowance. Because you know, broker dealers can't pay concessions, discounts, or allowances to non-members. Now, if I tell the SEC and FINRA that this was an Israeli broker dealer, we were doing underwriting in Israel, then they're properly registered in Israel, that would be an exception. You know, that's not an exception that's available to UBS. That's a Swiss firm, but they're doing business in the US. The other one would be we're selling exempt securities. Exempt securities on the test means munis or governments. And it's a bank. You know, if all a bank wanted to do is underwrite municipal securities, the bank wouldn't have to set up a broker dealer subsidiary. You know, most banks want to do other things besides selling munis or underwriting munis, and therefore they set up broker dealer subsidiaries. But if we were selling muni bonds and I'm the broker dealer and FINRA and, you know, the SEC says, did you give a concession, discount, or allowance to a non-member? I say, yes, it was a bank and we were selling municipals. So those are the two testable exceptions. All right. Well, I hope you find these explications helpful. Like I said, there are only 9 questions in function 1. Function 2 has 35 questions. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. I'll be adding more 24 content. I always say 24s, thank you very much. On the channel, we have people who are now matriculating to their 24, and I feel like the channel's success has been directly affected by people who have taken their 24 and know that the content we provide there, I helped them with their 24, know the content on the channel is safe for work and can help your SIEs, your 7s, your 66s, and all those folks. But also wanted to do something for our 24s. We also have a 24 community. I don't know how large that community will become, if any. I don't know what the audience is, but we have a R Series 24 on the Reddit. I started a Reddit community very successful for Series 7 and 66. And it's nice because people are anonymous. Those two are safe for work, but it allows you to remain anonymous as a 24. And it's a peer group, so to speak. So that's available as well. I'll be posting this shortly. And then the next narrative lecture, as I mentioned, is going to be investment banking and research. There's already a lecture on fiscal responsibility, and there's a lecture on trading and market making. So thank you very much.